Today's episode is brought to you by the Tax Defense Group. Did you know that in order to get your stimulus check that you had to file your taxes for the 2018 or 2019 tax year? If you haven't filed for 18 or 19, there's good news. The Tax Defense Group can rush e-file your taxes. They know that millions of Americans are struggling, and they want to make sure that you get your stimulus check sooner rather than later. Call the Tax Defense Group today at 800-850-7973 to get started. That number again is 800-850-7973, and you can visit them online at TheDomCast.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Writer Junkie. Due to the global pandemic and the economic downturn, Writer Junkie is offering their resume writing services for only $100. And with a 3-day turnaround, you can't beat that price and delivery time. Call Writer Junkie today at 805-587-7966 and you can visit them online at writerjunkie.com. Mention that you saw this ad on UCast Studios and they'll get right to work. Welcome everybody back to the TheDomCast episode. Y'all know I don't know the episode number, fam. Especially not right now. I just know that this is the first podcast that I've recorded since we were supposed to be in the NBA playoffs, and because of that I am missing the NBA a little bit extra right now. I just got done going through my old hard drives, and I've had hard drives that I've kept around with stuff on it since like the year 2012, and I have a lot of videos and pictures just scattered around there, and some of those happen to be from the NBA playoffs. For whatever reason, Young Dom had his iPod Touch, that's what we were using back then. Young Dom had his iPod Touch out recording himself watching the playoffs, watching the Celtics and Hawks back in 2012. I completely forgot that series happened. The only thing I remember about 2012 was the Celtics playing the Miami Heat and the Sixers, and I forgot there was a whole first round that went 6 games, and T-Mac was a Hawk back then and all that good stuff. But yeah, man, definitely missing it a bit extra. I woke up I think yesterday and there was Bleacher Report posting Damian Lillard's game winner from last year, the game winner that sent OKC home, and we thought it destroyed the franchise. It really, just put something better in its place. But yeah, that honestly, that fucked my morale all the way up. It was supposed to be like a cool memory, but I saw that and I was like, bro, we're really supposed to be like really into the playoffs right now and seeing these amazing series, and especially this year we're supposed to be seeing something competitive, because remember last year the Warriors still existed, so for all we knew they were about to three-peat rather easily. But anyways, what can any of us do about that? Today I figured instead of turning it into an actual video, because I really don't want to flesh out hypotheticals when the season isn't even done, I could just do it as a podcast topic, and I was gonna go through and take the playoff bracket as it stands right now and go through and do my predictions for how these series would have gone. Now, of course, a lot of teams still had 17 games left or something when the season ended. They still had like a month left, so there's no guarantee that these would have been the playoff matchups, and we don't have any guarantee of what's going to happen. We still, at this point, it is not May 1st yet. It is, I'm recording this on the 24th, so we still don't know if there's going to be a season or not. We still don't know if the season does come back and they're just playing it in the summer. What are they going to do? Are they just going to hop straight into the playoffs, or are they going to try to finish some of the season? We don't have a fucking clue. So for right now, I personally think if we did get something back in the summer, it would probably just hop straight into the playoffs. I just think with time and trying to time it with free agency and next season, it kind of feels like they would just have to cut the rest of the season. But I don't know. I seriously don't have a clue. Anyways, yeah, I will be doing my playoff bracket today, the East and West. So if you all did not remember, if you need a quick refresher on what we left off with a little bit over a month ago now, about a month and a week ago, the matchups were on the East side going to be, pardon me, they were going to be the first seeded Bucks versus the 8th seeded Magic. Yeah, okay. The 2nd seeded Raptors versus the 7th seeded Nets. The 3rd seeded Boston Celtics versus the 6th seeded Sixers, ironically. And the 4th seeded Heat versus the 5th seeded Pacers. So those would have been all of our first rounds in the Eastern Conference. Out west, you would have had the Lakers and Grizzlies 1-8. You would have had the Clippers and Mavs. Can you imagine that? We're talking about this Mavs team where Luka Doncic was having an amazing season and one of the best second seasons we had ever seen. Yet this Mavericks team was right now going to be 7th in the West and playing the Clippers in the first round. So that would have been a thing. As it was left off, Denver was actually in 3rd seed as the Rockets were in 6th, so I think, yeah, I mean, with the way the West works, that's not too unbelievable. And then the Jazz and Thunder, exactly what I wanted to see. For some real reason, to be honest with you, it feels like an eternity ago, so I can't remember why I was so hyped and wanted that series. Maybe they played some really close games this year that made me want to see that series, but I just remember wanting to see that one. I think I tweeted about it once or twice, so, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this just like like I would if with the videos that I've done in the past years. In the past years, I've always done playoff predictions, and I'm not going to call these predictions because we don't know if these would actually be the playoffs. But if this would have been the playoff series, what would have happened? What would have happened on each side? What would have been our finals? And this would be interesting because I want to see how much I have changed since the beginning of the season. Because in the beginning of the season, I'm pretty sure I had my predictions about what teams were going to go far, yada yada. All right, let's start off in the East. I believe the Eastern Conference is pretty... No, I think this is kind of easy. I don't think there's that many potential for upsets here because there is such a... How do you say? There's really a gigantic difference in power here. So, for instance, the Bucks and Magic, like, the only good thing that could have come out of this series was the fact that I live in Florida and I would have been able to see some of these games. I would have been able to see Giannis in person. I think I would have probably sticked out, like, one playoff game to go to, but... Other than that, who the fuck would have wanted to see that? That reminds me of the Bucks and Pistons last year. You remember that? No, you probably don't. You don't remember the Bucks and Pistons, do you? Because Blake Griffin, what did he play? Like, I don't remember how many games Blake Griffin played in that series, but I know he was out. He ended up getting hurt. And so the Bucks and Pistons was just 4 games that just wasted your life for us. It was one of those things where you almost fear for the team, the superior team there. Like, man, they really have to beat these guys and play these guys 4 games. Like, that just seemed like it was potential for Giannis to get hurt and for there to be an upset somewhere. So that's kind of how I see the Bucks and Magic here. So yeah, if you can't tell, sweep. That would have been a Bucks sweep. That would have been Bucks and 4. Yeah, you know, that's just the life of a Magic. I'm not a Magic fan. I was about to say the life of a Magic fan. It probably is a life of a Magic fan, but being down here and that's the hometown team, you just never really expect anything. We have this really nice arena, and every time I go there, I'm just like blown away. It's so cool. It's always like it's my first time there every time I go, and then I'm like, man, if only there was a really, really competitive product on the floor, this shit would be bomb. I might be a season ticket holder, fam. I might have had to stake out a budget for that. But yeah, anyways, that's our reality. Bucks and 4. The series after that, am I gonna do all the East first, or yeah, I think that's how I would normally do these, because normally I would do each conference in one video, so we'll just stay in the East and then I'll go to West. In the West, I also would have had the Raptors sweeping the Nets. This was just this was what I refer to as the season that was just suspended in amber for Brooklyn, and it was really weird because you get the big haul last year, you signed Kyrie Irving, you signed Kevin Durant, and you immediately look at that and go, okay, you know, KD tore his Achilles, or ruptured his Achilles, I believe, in June, in the NBA Finals, late in the NBA Finals, so there was an understanding that he was not going to be playing. So to be totally honest with you, throughout this season, I was really just waiting for the event that was going to lead to Kyrie Irving no longer playing, and not like on some nefarious shit where they were just going to sit him out or just say, oh, it's not good for you to be playing because we need you with KD next year. I didn't think they were going to try to pull anything. I don't know, it just felt like, why is he out here? Because the only thing that can happen, this was not a team that was going to be competing for a title or anything close to that this year. And I was like, it really only something bad can happen out of Kyrie playing this year, and then going into next year and having, you know, maybe Kyrie being hurt and only having KD there. Nonetheless, I think the last injury he had was a shoulder. He barely played at all this year, and then he finally went out totally with shoulder surgery, so he was going to miss. He was not going to be playing in the series. Essentially, you were going to have a really good Raptors team playing a Nets team that was just kind of gonna be there without a goal. Like, really, they were gonna be there without a goal, man. They were just gonna be out there to hoop and with no real aspirations. So that would have been a sweep in my opinion. I thought very highly of the Raptors this year. I really did, especially without Kawhi, and the fact that they were able to keep pace with what they did last year with Kawhi. Granted that I think people forget when talking about the records, Kawhi did miss a lot of games last year. He did low manage a lot of games, so it wasn't like it was just a direct comparison between, oh, they were this good with him and without him. It wasn't direct, but still, it was impressive. Regardless, what they did this year without a Finals MVP and a top 5 player in the league leaving their team, it was very impressive. So yeah, still Raptors in 4 there. Boston and the Sixers. Oh man, so for this one I had to go back and recall what was going on with Philly before we ended the season, because they were really going through it. The fact that you're in this Eastern Conference, which is not, it really wasn't amazing, yet they were 6th. I think in my early season predictions I actually had them 2nd to start the year, and yeah, that's right, I did best and worst case scenarios, and In my worst case scenario, I was saying that they weren't really going to be able to find a role for Al Horford and they weren't going to mesh, and really they were living the worst case scenario out and some before the season ended. You know, Ben Simmons was hurt, Joel Embiid was hurt, chemistry was looking crazy. Throughout the season, you were getting periodic comments from Embiid about how he wanted little shots, really very subtle shots about wanting Ben Simmons to shoot, and Coach Brett Brown saying he needed Ben Simmons to shoot more, yet he wasn't shooting more, so that was kind of weird to me. I was like, the coach is out here in the public saying it and we're not really seeing results, so I thought that was weird. Nonetheless, as a Celtics fan, that is not the team I wanted to see in the first round. I did not want to see Philly because this year, we played them a couple of times. I don't know their record off the dome in head-to-head matchups, but I know that regardless of how Philly was doing, they still had Embiid, and that was a very sore point for us in terms of matchups. So I did not really want to have to contend with that soon. Still, with everything that was going on with Philly, and because this doesn't take place in a vacuum, obviously, as we were ending, Boston was actually on a bit of a slump, not followed by, but prior to that slump, you had Jason Tatum really having probably the best stretch of his career, and Kemba Walker I think was missing some time as well. But the way things were trending, I still would have probably picked Boston in 6 here, just because things were not going well for the Sixers. If this playoff series were actually happening, I definitely would have been worried about the matchups, but I still think, just with where these two teams were, I wouldn't have put my money on Philly to pick things up and eliminate a Boston team that was doing really well for themselves. That's just not where I would go with it. So I would have picked Boston in 6 there, and of course you would have had the Heat and Pacers, and I would have picked the Heat in 5. I really liked watching Miami this year, aside from their beautiful vice court setup. People always say that it's overdone and that the jerseys are overdone and that's all. Whatever, bro. I enjoyed that shit. I loved it. I had their lighting scheme set up in my NBA room and everything for when their games came on. Very fun team to watch. The fun thing here, of course, would have been Jimmy Butler. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the fun thing here would have been Jimmy Butler and TJ Warren, because again, it feels like it happened eons ago, but remember, they got into it. One of the games closer to this hiatus that we've taken, Jimmy Butler and TJ Warren, they were getting into it, and I believe Jimmy Butler said something along the lines of, "Oh, coach better not put him on me. He can't guard me," or something like that. He better not put him on me next time. And on Instagram, I think he had circled their calendars. So yeah, Heat and Pacers, just for that alone, I was really looking forward to watching. That being said, this Heat team was a really good team. Even with some of the injuries that they dealt with, they were playing Milwaukee well in some of their games this year, and they beat them a couple of times as well, once or twice. I can't remember how many times they actually beat them this year, but yeah, no, Miami definitely. I would have given them 5 on the Pacers, maybe 6, but probably 5 for me. So that would have set us up with and as you can see there, no, I don't think there's really any upsets in that first bracket. Like I said, I just don't think the potential is there. And in the Bucks and the Bucks and Raptors first 2 series, like, there's no upset with the Nets and Magic coming there. Maybe you can talk about the Sixers beating Boston, which I don't even know if you would call that as much of an upset. I don't know either way if that series, whichever way that series goes, I don't know if it's an upset if both teams are healthy, because Philly's not really supposed to be 6th. There was just a lot going on with them this season, and of course Miami beating Indiana is not an upset. I just don't really see a lot of room for those to go either in any other way. I think the most contested series there would be Boston and Philly though, and as you can see, yeah, that's the only one that I gave more than 5 games. Moving on, that would set up the Bucks, the first seeded Bucks playing the 4th seed Heat in the second round. Oh man, I wanted to see that so badly. And then the Raptors and Celtics. That's the worst part about this in terms of like the NBA. There's so much that's supposed to be going on right now, and there's so much during the season that I was looking forward to that is really more than likely not going to happen. It's just like, damn, bro. The worst part about it is that even if it does happen, even if we do get it back in June, you're going to have like no fans, so home court advantage is not really going to be a thing, and there's no way to get what we were supposed to get, and that shit is crazy, bro. But I can't do nothing about it. In the case of the Bucks and Heat, I would have picked the Bucks in 6 games there. So Bucks 4-2. I thought this was going to be a really fun series. I believe the Heat beat them without Jimmy Butler one time this season. And even I think, did that happen? Yeah. Right before the season ended, I remember the Heat beat Milwaukee, didn't they? They beat Milwaukee, and Giannis had one of his worst games of the season against them. They were kind of, it seemed like in that game they were taking the approach that Toronto had taken in terms of in terms of defense there, and that was along the time that the media was trying desperately to switch the MVP from being Giannis to LeBron. And so, yeah, that I remember that because that really was poorly timed. But I still think in a playoff series, when it came down to it, I still would have had the Bucks winning that series. I really did like the Heat, but I think a lot of what we saw in the Miami game, if I can remember correctly, is a lot of Giannis's teammates also missing shots. So you're not always going to be able to just bank on shutting Giannis down and leaving guys open. And I kind of think that's how that Heat game was going. So I would have had the Bucks winning that series in 6 games, but oh gosh, it would have been so much fun. And the Raptors and Celtics, the 2nd seeded Raptors and the 3rd seed Celtics. Wow. On that series, I would have gone Raptors. I would have gone Toronto. I know one of the games wasn't a great sample. Christmas Day it actually was. On Christmas Day, I think the Raptors were missing a lot of pieces playing Boston, and I think if you would have gotten to the playoffs and both teams would have been healthy, I would have probably gone Raptors, and I would have gone Raptors in 7. I think it would have been a very competitive series. This is another one where I also don't think it's really an upset either way. I don't think so. Maybe just by seeds, but the fact that you have this Raptors team who proved that they won a championship last year, and then they proved that they were still legitimate this year, and you have a Celtics team that was doing a lot better with their change in personnel. I don't really see either one of the. It could have gone either way. That's why whenever I say 7, most of the times it means the series could have gone either way. But for that specific series, I think I would have probably put my I would have probably put my money on the Raptors there. And that would have set up a rematch in the conference finals, the improbable conference finals rematch between the Bucks and Raptors. I can guarantee you a little bit under a year ago, because yeah, the conference finals in May. So go to last May and tell us that the Raptors are going to lose Kawhi Leonard. I guarantee you we don't say, okay, so yeah, a year out from now, you're going to have the same Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think anybody outside of Toronto would have probably banked on that. But I think that is the series we would have got. And this time I would have given it to the Bucks. Again, I thought extremely highly of the Raptors. They proved that they were still competitive. Even they one game, they seemed like they were playing Giannis really well, but the Bucks eventually broke through and won that game. I think without Kawhi to match in a playoff series, though, I think the Bucks get the edge this time. Although, again, I would still let the Raptors. I can still see the Raptors getting 2 games. But you got to remember, along with building a wall against Giannis last year, you also had Kawhi to fight back. And yeah, having that star to go head to head with the other guy, even if the other guy was struggling, like last year in the playoffs, he kind of was, or in that conference final series, that is an important part that would have been missing. And so the Bucks seemingly had a lot of the same issues this year, where the game plan probably kind of would have been the same if Kawhi would have came back. You still would have said, all right, let's force Giannis to do this, kind of like they were last year. And Giannis was playing a bit better this year, but in terms of a game plan, you probably would have rolled out the same thing. But I do think it would have been just a tad bit harder for the Raptors to be successful at that, and that would have put the Milwaukee Bucks in the finals. That would have put Giannis in his first finals. That would have put Milwaukee in their first finals back since the Kareem days. Wow, I cannot. It's so fascinating that sports franchises can, either never be successful or, go to win a championship one time and not go back for like 40 years. That's just crazy. Anyways, that's a different subject. I'm actually reading some books mentioning that right now. Yeah, from the East side, like I said, not a lot of upsets or anything surprising. I would have thought here. I would have picked the Bucks. In terms of what you could have seen here, though, to me, the Miami Heat were still a real dark horse. When you say dark horse, you're talking about a team that comes into the playoffs, you don't expect them to make the finals, and then they go on an improbable run, and then they're in the finals. That would have been the Miami Heat at a dark horse. Either way, with the way the season was going, yeah, Giannis doesn't really have a star of his stature in the Eastern Conference that's healthy and playing this year, so I don't think it would have been a crazy, journey to the NBA Finals this year. And yeah, they were, for most of the season, they were on pace to 70 wins, so yeah, no real shock here. So then that brings us to the Western Conference, and this is where things will get interesting if we do pick back up sometime during the summer and start talking about, well, are we just going to jump straight into the playoffs? Because because the Eastern Conference was more or less set in terms of the 8 teams. Nobody was going to catch the Magic or Nets. They were 7th and 8th, and then from there it was a big drop off to like 6, and so things were more or less set there. However, in the Western Conference, you still had numerous teams jockeying for position there. You had the Grizzlies fighting for their playoffs lives to keep the 8 seed. You had the Pelicans, who, with the addition of Zion Williamson, were trying to make a run at it and kept staying within striking distance. You had the Kings, who could still make the playoffs. I feel like that's a little known fact. I feel like nobody was really checking for the Kings because people really wanted to see either Ja or Zion occupy that spot. You had the Blazers, and I heard from a lot of Blazer fans who thought that they could have ended up making it, and they were talking about getting healthy and this, that, and the other thing. Damian Lillard, after All-Star weekend, I know was going to miss a significant portion of time to that goal. Nothing, I think it was like a week or so, but still to that goal, and the fact that everybody was only like a few games apart, still think it was really really important time there. But nonetheless, who would have occupied the A seed there if we just start and say sorry, better luck next time? That's the Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies would be playing the Lakers in the first round. Moving on. Oh yeah, I already did this. Alright, okay, yeah, I did this for the Western Conference already. So yeah, the Grizzlies would get swept. They would get swept. Unless the Lakers just like fell asleep one game or were playing down to the competition, I think it would be fun. I really, if it wasn't going to be Zion, which I started to accept that it probably wasn't going to be, because it just didn't seem like the Pelicans could put anything. They couldn't put a real run together. They would win some and then they'd lose some, and even before that, they were trying to get Zion's minutes right. So I didn't feel like they could stay consistent enough. So then I was like, okay, well, here's this kid Ja Morant, and he's tried to jump over Kevin Love. He's went behind his back through people's legs, tried to dunk on a couple of people now, just dangerously, with no regard for his body at all. But I thought that would be fun, because okay, if it's not gonna be Zion versus LeBron, how about this young kid who clearly has an irrational amount of confidence? And I mean that in a good way. Irrational confidence can clearly be good sometimes, because Ja was going to win Rookie of the Year. Even if it was fun to talk about Zion, Ja was about to get that. So yeah, but still results in a sweep. This Grizzlies team was a very nice story this season. They've got a nice young core. They were, I really loved what they were doing, just like with Miami, with the Miami Vice. I loved what they were doing with their court, with the Vancouver with the Vancouver court and the logos and the jerseys and whatnot. It was all very nice, feel good things going on with Memphis this year. But you play LeBron James and Anthony Davis, especially playoff LeBron, and they are on a mission. Yeah, sweep. Clippers and Mavericks. Okay. With this one, I would have picked the Clippers in 5. I don't think the Mavericks were a great matchup for them. You're talking about a team where their best player is a perimeter guy, and you're going against a team whose specialty damn near is perimeter defense. You got Kawhi, you got PG, you got Pat Bev. And I just think there was a game earlier this season. I can't remember how many times they played, but I definitely watched the Mavericks and Clippers play it once. And yeah, it was just like, this is those games I always feel like would end up being, especially in the playoffs, would end up being some of the hardest nights of Luka Doncic's career. And so while that would have been fun, and while that would have been really interesting for a first round matchup, because I always thought of the Mavericks as a little bit higher of a seed, but they kept getting injured this year. Yeah, I would have picked the Clippers in 5. Definitely would have picked the Clippers in 5 there. I don't think that's a favorable matchup. And Kristaps throughout the season was still getting healthy. I don't know if we ever throughout the season for any consistent amount of time saw the Kristaps that we remembered. And so yeah, definitely would have picked the Clippers there. Moving down right below them, you got Denver and the Rockets. 3rd seeded Denver and 6th seeded Rockets. You know, believe it or not, I was enjoying watching Houston's small ball experiment. I was really, that's just one of many things I was really wanting to see in the playoffs this year, because I felt like their run had a chance to really do something interesting to basketball. We always see these changes in basketball, and I felt like we had a chance to watch it change right before our eyes if they were massively successful in the playoffs with it. Still here, I picked the Rockets in 6. Yeah, I picked the Rockets in 6 here. With James Harden, Russell Westbrook, I feel like things were working out a bit better with what I know. James Harden had like a mean slump going in, but you know, that We know who James Harden is, fam. We know who he is. The more important thing is that Westbrook was really getting along with this idea of not having someone in his space down low. And that's interesting to say for a point guard, but yeah, when you have all the space to drive and when you're not that great of a shooter, things seem like they were working out for him better in the system, and it was going a long way in making him and James Harden fit. And so if you're talking Rockets, Nuggets first round, even with the Nuggets home court advantage, I would have picked the Rockets. I would have put my money on the Rockets in that series. Although Denver, it's really weird, right? Because you talk about how teams match up. When I was talking about the Western Conference all year, Denver was probably the team that I saw as more likely to make the NBA Finals than the Houston Rockets. If somebody else in the West was going to make it besides like the Lakers and Clippers, I looked at the Nuggets as that third team. But in terms of a playoff matchup, if you put those two teams together, hell, that's just matchups for you. Just like how the Mavericks once lost to the Warriors. Sometimes teams just match up differently. And I don't at all think this was your typical 3-6 matchup, because then you're talking about the third best team in a conference playing somebody near the back, which in the West, that doesn't really mean a whole lot. They split the season series. That would have been interesting. I actually may have given Rockets in 7 there. I think I might have gone Rockets in 7 actually, because I did think highly of the Nuggets still, but I would have gone with James Harden and James Harden and Brody. And the Jazz and Thunder. Wow, how about the Oklahoma City Thunder at the point that we were at? Were actually 5th seed. They were a higher seed than the Rockets, which, man, that's I think we all got saved from a bit of narrative wasteland there, because although Westbrook was he started playing really well and there was many different factors contributing to OKC's success this year, just let a little bit of time pass and let's get to the offseason or whatever happens in the playoffs. And I know for a fact you would have heard, damn bro, OKC traded Westbrook for CP3 and got better, like they got, and CP3 did a better job. You would have heard so many crazy narratives, man, regardless of causation or anything like that. But anyways, yes, the Jazz and Thunder would have happened, to which I would have picked the Thunder. I would have picked the Thunder to beat the Jazz. Is this a 7-game series? Maybe 6. I got Thunder in 6 there. I really like the Thunder. Not really nice young pieces, upstart team. Chris Paul was, man, having a crazy season. I hate that he did not get to finish this, because I thought that maybe it didn't mean a whole lot in terms of his legacy, I guess you would say, but the type of questions that people were putting on him for being a superstar point guard and one of the better point guards in NBA history and never really getting that far, I thought it did mean a lot to his story to go to this team where his career was supposed to just die at, and end up in a higher seed than the team that he was traded from. I thought that was important to him. But yeah, I really liked OKC. I would have probably put OKC there in 6 or 7. And then that would have brought us to the second round. That would have saw the Lakers, first seed, playing the 5-seeded Thunder. Then that would have... Wait. Oops. Oh, big oops. Actually, I did that one wrong. Ha! No, I did that one wrong. Oh wait, no, we good. Okay, I got thrown off a bit because of the Rockets being the 6th seed that would have won that series. So yeah, they would still end up playing the Clippers in the second round, and the 5th seeded Thunder would have played the Lakers. Because one always plays it. Yeah, okay, cool. We got that right. So yeah, what a second round here. Yeah, Lakers, I maybe the Thunder get a game off the Lakers, but I have that down as a sweep. I have that one down as a sweep. I thought, again, OKC, nice young team, but there's levels to this, son. There's levels to this. So Lakers in 4 or 5, take your pick. Clippers and Rockets, boy, I wanted to see this. I watched a lot of their matchups this year. This was the one where I said that the Rockets, although they got 2 perimeter guys, especially during the beginning of the season. Again, when your best players on the perimeter and you go against the Clippers, I think, you have a bit of a harder time there generally. But going up against them and watching their matchups, I was always saying, man, this Rockets team, although I don't know how it's really going to mesh, if they end up in the playoffs against the Clippers, I'm not going to be 100% surprised if the Rockets end up winning. That being said, I still play the Clippers in 6 here. To my knowledge, there was one game that the Clippers were able to play against the Rockets with their new small ball scheme, I think, and it didn't really work out that well for the Rockets, seeing as how the Clippers also have the ability to play small. They don't have a big guy out there that's just kind of left to dry, which is what the Rockets were doing to a lot of teams. You had a lot of big guys out there who were just left to dry, because what are you supposed to do? They would recover so fast, and they would always show that big guy to people, so you weren't just going to post them up all game. However, the Clippers, they have that ability to play like the Rockets and maybe even play it a bit better, and especially on both sides of the ball. So yeah, I still think the Clippers would have won that series. I think before that trade is where I used to say that the Rockets, not that they were going to beat the Clippers, just that my jaw wouldn't hit the floor or anything. So yeah, still Clippers in 6. That sets up the Battle of LA, man. The Battle of LA. It's too, the saying that is one of these sayings in my life that is always rung true, is that if it sounds too good to be true, that's because it usually is. The Battle of LA this year sounded too good to be true. You were talking about the crowd and the tension in the crowd, and Kawhi Leonard versus LeBron James, that thing that's been going on throughout their careers, and now both of them are in different LA teams. Paul George trying to finally get past LeBron, just all these things. And I was just, throughout this NBA season, I was just dreaming about seeing that in the playoff series, in the conference finals. And the worst part is you cannot predict the pandemic, and so like I didn't think anything could stand in the way of that happening, and yet here we are. That's another series that, even if it happened, that the crowd, more than ever, to play into how important that matchup was, or the crowd would be even more important playing into that matchup. And yeah, we wouldn't have a crowd even if we did have the playoffs back. But in terms of who would win that series, I have never changed. I would go Clippers in 7. I think the Clippers at the beginning of the year were the team that I was picking to win the title. Throughout the year, I just never saw anything that to me said the Lakers were actually a better team. The last game they played, the Lakers ended up winning. It went down. It didn't really go down to the wire. It's just that the momentum wasn't completely with LA until the very end. But yes, I thought the Clippers were better defensively. I thought that they were better. I thought they were deeper. And then also the Kawhi Leonard factor. He was about to get better in the playoffs, just like he did last year. You have Kawhi in the regular season, and you have the robot that enters the playoffs, and I thought that you were going to see something very similar to that this year. And so yeah, I didn't see, there weren't any crazy moves from the Lakers that really changed me off of that. Still, I think it would have, like I said, I would have picked it in 7. And that's another one where there's really no upsets. If the Clippers beat the Lakers, Lakers beat the Clippers, and either one of those to me is an upset, because one side has fucking LeBron and AD, and then the other side has this really deep team with Kawhi and PG at the head. So no upsets there, but I don't think you would have moved me off my prediction there. That would have set us up with the Kawhi Leonard and Giannis rematch in the NBA Finals. Yes, that is. I just felt like the NBA Finals this year needed Giannis to really have that story and to really have that punch. It's our first season without the Warriors. It's our first time watching a finals where, without injuries, we would have really had to, be on the edge of our seat. And I felt like for it to be a crazy series, I feel like it really needed to have Giannis in it. So whether it was Giannis trying to get his first ring against LeBron, or him trying to get his first ring against the guy who knocked him out of the conference finals last year, I just thought it needed Giannis there. That being said, who would have won out of the Bucks and Clippers? Like I said, I just didn't see a whole lot that would move me off of what I was thinking when the season started. And I would have gone Clippers in 7 there. I would have gone to the Clippers in 7 games. Maybe even 6. See, the thing is, again, like I hinted at it earlier, the Eastern Conference this year did not, as it's gotten better and it's had great teams, in terms of the playoffs and needing those marquee players, I didn't see like that marquee player to really go head to head with Giannis like how you had Kawhi Leonard last year. KD probably is that guy, but he wasn't playing this year. And so I really didn't see that in the Eastern Conference. However, when you get to the finals, I think that you would see some of the weaknesses come out from the Bucks. Again, I think the Clippers would try to, especially, and they have the defenders for it too, I think they would try to do exactly what Toronto did to them in isolating Giannis and turning him into strictly a jump shooter, building walls, keeping him out of the paint. And the Clippers are so good defensively, they probably could have executed that even better. And they also have Kawhi to build that around. And so that is where I think I would have gone with it this year. I think as fun as this playoffs would have been, at the beginning of the year, we saw this Clippers team get together and they were fascinating and they were load managing the whole year, and they were still, the last we checked, they were second seed. That was the crazy thing, is you would have Kawhi miss games. They weren't even fully healthy the whole year and they were still second seed the whole time. So I kept trying to tell people, I thought that really spoke to how damn good this team was going to be if they ever got it together, if they ever got everybody on the same floor. The season was winding down, and there were questions about, oh, have you guys played together enough, and this, that, and the other thing. But yeah, I think by the time the playoffs come, if everyone's there, I think that was the best team there, and they could go against anybody's scheme. You're talking about having guys, perimeter guys, to match up with like Luka Doncic and LeBron James, and then being able to play with the Rockets, who are not going to want to be able to play with the big men. They were extremely versatile. They were extremely deep. The Clippers would have been my 2020 NBA champions in that scenario. The reason I'm framing it like that is because should we get the NBA playoffs back, so many things have changed by now. Who knows which players are in supreme shape? Who knows who's going to be able to deal with the camaraderie and the chemistry changes coming back to a season with no fans and playing during the summer when they never really do that? Who knows how any of these teams is going to be able to handle that, right? Or who's going to handle it the best? So under our regular circumstances, that's who I would have had. Under these circumstances, fam, it's anybody's guess. It is absolutely anybody's guess. So yeah, there goes my the unofficial playoff predictions, I guess you would call it. What's left, basically, we had Draymond Green talking a little bit this week, a little bit more than a little bit. He did an entire 2-hour podcast, I guess. He did the show. He did the All the Smoke show podcast with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. I'm still in the process of listening to the whole thing, but I've seen the really important parts that I will talk about here. He was doing interviews with Maverick Carter and somebody else, and yeah, so that's Draymond Green, and then just a couple of things here at the end. So basically, look, this is cool because this actually just coincides. I just got done reading Andre Iguodala's book, and by the way, it's called The Sixth Man. I don't think I remember the name of it last time, but I remember now. Sixth Man by Andre Iguodala, talking about really his whole NBA career, and thus talking about the Warriors. And part of what he talks about in there is how players deal with the media and why they deal with them a certain way. And me, I always say, like, I wonder why players would ever put themselves in positions by saying certain things, but I also love when they do it because I always want to hear what they have to say. I want to hear what they really think because that's just such a rare thing. And you learn by reading Iguodala's book why it's such a rare thing, because it seems like no matter what they do or what they say, there's always a way for it to be twisted. Things can be taken totally out of context. Like Iguodala was talking about when he was in college, and I guess I don't know if I could find this anywhere on the internet, but apparently he took a phone call in the locker room because he forgot his socks. He forgot his socks to the game that day, so he was just asking his girlfriend if she could bring him his socks. And apparently some I don't know if you did, the media, just call it the media, snapped a picture of him in the hallway on his phone before the game and framed it as him being unfocused and him being an unfocused player. And he was talking about how that affected him in eyes of like scouts and stuff like that, and how coaches were able to leverage that, all types of shit, right? So players are always with the media kind of in a no-win position. So when sometimes you get like Draymond this week, he just said, fuck it, I'm just gonna say exactly what I think, and everybody's just gonna feel how they feel about it. And he said a couple of things. It was a wide range of topics, talking about Kevin Durant, talking about his departure, and then even talking about his own standing in NBA history, I guess you would say. First and foremost, I found it interesting, and maybe I gotta go and watch this whole thing, but I found it interesting that in the Maverick Carter conversation, that from what I've seen, Draymond did not stick up for his teammates when Maverick Carter said that Steph Curry would have trouble defending him. Yeah, that's Mav. That's LeBron's guy, if you don't know. And yeah, he said that Steph Curry is terrible on-ball defender, and that he would have trouble defending him as in Maverick, who hasn't played ball since college, he said, I believe. And so yeah, I found it interesting in that little tidbit. Draymond was just kind of there, and I guess it's I guess that's just kind of a thing where Maverick is a grown man, and it's I mean, again, that's your teammate, that's your guy, Steph is your teammate and your guy, so Mav is gonna feel how he's gonna feel. But I did just find that interesting there, but nothing super important. Then there was the KD situation, the Kevin Durant situation, and that's why I tweeted about that, because I was like, man, this is crazy. It feels like we're living in some alternate reality. Like, y'all remember how the Warriors consumed so much of our NBA lives for 3 years. And imagine hearing last year, before KD was even hurt, that in a year we would have Draymond going around doing like virtual interviews talking about the breakup of the Warriors, and we wouldn't even have a playoff season. I know we were talking about, we were all hoping and like willing it to happen for KD to leave Golden State, but still the fact back then it seemed like there might not have been an end in sight. So yeah, I just feel like that'd been crazy. But he was basically saying a couple of things really. He said that if Kevin Durant really wanted to stay a Golden State Warrior, he could have easily done so by just telling the team that they needed to trade him, as in Draymond. He also said he really didn't appreciate, well, basically is what he's saying, is that he did not appreciate Kevin Durant and how he handled the whole contract thing last year, because you all know that was just such a big thing. The Warriors really couldn't go anywhere without what's KD going to do next year, where is he going to go, how is this going to go, and Draymond was saying like he had to answer questions about his own contract, Klay had to answer questions about what he was going to do, and he said that both of them were just making it straightforward, like, hey, this is where I want to be. And so he said that, I guess maybe inspired by a little bit of what we've seen with The Last Dance. I don't think I'm going to really talk about the documentary today, by the way, that much, because it's only been 2 episodes. But basically with the Bulls, they knew that 1998 was their last year, and so there was no questions. It was just kind of like, you know, everyone's going to go do their own thing, whatever that may be after this. And I guess that's what Green thought that's what he said he wanted with Kevin Durant, because other than that, you know, with the alternative, with the way that it did go, it just hung over them the whole year. Now, I did find it interesting, somebody also pulled up a response, and in response to that, they pulled up Draymond Green talking to Rachel Nichols in an interview and saying that he found out that KD was going to the Nets the same time everybody else found out, which is when, you know, which was appropriate. He didn't need to know before everybody else. So he said that in that interview, and then in this one he basically goes on to say like that should have been answered last year. Now I think if you I think that's where nuance comes into play a little bit. I think he's differentiating between like where he was actually gonna go versus having it actually hang over the team last year, of if he was gonna go at all. And you know, that situation is interesting because with the first one, with him you know, letting it hang over the team last year, I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of like when LeBron was going to be a free agent in 2014, and we didn't, I think back then the Miami Heat, they were 2-time champions by then. Their vibes were a lot better. Nobody had gone off and called LeBron a bitch on the team, not as far as I know anyways. It wasn't a big media debacle, so nobody was really expecting LeBron to actually leave the Heat that year until it happened. I don't think anyways. That wasn't some big thing like it was with Kevin Durant. So it wasn't looming as much because the Heat just kind of seemed like they were living in the Heat's world, or it was a Heat's world and everybody else was living in it. So a bit of a different situation there, whereas with this one, you wonder if Kevin Durant would have gone on and won, would he have stayed? But now with everything that's coming out, I kind of feel like he was going either way. With everything that's coming out about the way he felt about some of the treatment between him and Steph, and just all these little stories that are coming out, and really matching up with what Bill Simmons wrote about in his book of basketball, The Disease and War. It really feels like that's just what was going on with that Warriors team. The NBA it happens in cycles, teams happen in cycles, and save for the Celtics back in the day when circumstances were a lot different. In this modern NBA, teams break up, things blow up, and nobody really ever goes on to win the 8 championships we think they're gonna win. Now, did KD actually owe it to his teammates who were also answering questions about their contracts to just say, okay, I am or am not coming back next year? Not really. I mean, let me raise you Dwight Howard from right before he went to the Lakers. That was a terrible situation, and I think his image really took a hit there for the rest of his career. I think that helped with it, because he was trying to please everybody. Dwight was trying to put smiles on everybody's faces, trying to keep everybody happy. And so what ended up happening was the Magic kind of put a bind on him. They put a bind on him, I remember them saying like, okay, if you're going to stay with this team, you got to sign with us now, or we're going to look to trade you before the deadline. And Dwight, really trying to stay loyal and this and that and the other thing, ended up signing. But then by the time the season was over, I had surgery and was like, never mind, I want to go ahead and be traded. I remember when that situation happened down here, it was the weirdest thing. Him not showing up to like his camps, his summer camps down here, shit, it was crazy. And so, free agency is a right that these players have, and it's something that was fought for. And once you play out the terms of your contract, I don't really know that anybody should ever put themselves in a bind and say, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do this offseason. And you know, in KD's situation, why would you? Why, especially after what had happened that season? What happens if, let's say KD says, or sometime in that season, yeah, I'm gonna stay, and then, you know, 2 Warriors get injured, because hell, a lot of injuries happened. Yeah, the injuries did happen. You know, Clay goes down. What if Steph would have went down too? But KD is already committed to staying when he really didn't want to, but he was just trying to get the media shitstorm to go away. Now he's looking kind of crazy. Now he got a year of his career where he's just kind of hooping and. You know, why would you? Why would you take your options off the table? But I can also understand why Draymond felt that way as well. When you're on a team and it's a media circus every day, I can understand why he felt that way. I also don't think KD really owed that to anybody. But yeah, this just goes to show how hard all this shit is with NBA teams, and with keeping, why we don't get like teams with 7 championships in a row, because no matter how much talent you put on a team, just so many other factors play into this. And I'm reading the book right now about the Warriors breakup. Apparently it's a book, you know, you're kind of supposed to take with a grain of salt at least, but on a base level, I think, especially with Draymond's comments coming out and the things that we even saw with their conflict last year, I think at a base level we will see that some of this was probably true. And Draymond's other comments were referring to him and Charles Barkley. That was on All the Smoke, and talking about basically how Charles Barkley been coming at him in the media for years and this, that, and the other thing. But it basically boiled down to him saying, yeah, because Charles Barkley scored more points, that doesn't mean he had bigger impact on the NBA than Draymond himself had. Wow, hell of a statement there. That's yeah, rubbing my hands together like bird, man. This is the stuff I like to hear from players, even if it sounds crazy, even if you're like, what did he just say? I love hearing this stuff though. At least we know what they actually think. I guess Draymond on that angle is probably trying to say that what would he be trying to say? I guess in terms of playing with the Warriors and the Warriors, how they influenced, you know, a lot of the 2010s. I guess he's taking that angle and saying that while Charles Barkley was probably a better player and did more and has an MVP and this and the other thing, led a team to the finals, I guess Draymond sees himself as a part of this band of brothers with the Warriors, who really in a short amount of time changed how basketball was played. And Draymond being a key cog in allowing them to play small but still being able to have, you know, great defense, and him being the anchor for that defense. I guess he's kind of taking it from that angle. But you know, there's not even room for discussion on that type of shit on Twitter, because there's not even room for discussion, bro, because Twitter is what, 260, 280 characters, something like that. It's a small amount of characters, and if 2 players get mentioned in the same breath, that it's like, you know, all bets are off. That's what they're going for. So there's not even any room for discussion. I don't think Draymond was calling himself better than Charles Barkley, obviously. Well, and even then, still, like when you talk about impact, I would probably disagree. I would probably disagree with that. At the end of the day, if you're talking about Charles Barkley being a guy who was a bit small for the power forward position, but could shoot the ball, could handle the ball, could run the floor in transition, and do all these different things in a time where that probably wasn't typical for the position, I think that probably counts under impact. And then looking at how the game eventually trended to where that's kind of a normal thing for guys at that position now. Not to be as good as Barkley, but to be able to possess a wide range of skills, and yeah, that counts as impact. So, but hey, again, you know what? I never go in on players. I never go in on players when they speak their mind, because I welcome it, and I understand why they don't. I'm now, you know that's my position. If you listen to me, you know that's my position. I want players to say whatever's on their mind, but I completely understand, especially reading from Iggy, that why we hear players sit at a podium and just say, or not even the podium, you know, the mid-game interviews where they're like, yeah, we played great defense, we moved the ball, yada yada. That same like scripted, that shit sounds like a 2K option basically that they selected. But I get why, because everyone's looking for a story. The media specifically is looking for a story. You know, words are looking to be taken out of context, and so I completely understand why you don't get things like Draymond. But hey, I welcome it, bro. I welcome it. This is why I'm an avid reader of basketball books, because these are the type of things you normally don't hear till later. So I fuck with it, Draymond. Anyways, that will be probably the end of the NBA portion of the podcast, and really close to the end as well, because not a whole lot more to talk about. Obviously, there were no updates on the NBA. You know, things are crazy out there in the world. Corona is still wreaking havoc. So I guess getting into the games and anime part to wrap this all up. These days, I actually, today while I was streaming, that's why I wrote this one down, somebody had asked what games I was playing in my spare time, because if you follow me on Twitch and you see me streaming, I've almost exclusively went to 2K, because the simulations we're doing or whatnot, they take so long that by the time I'm done streaming just 2K alone, I still have 2 other channels, so I don't really have time to just hop on other video games on Twitch, which is why I really don't play other games on Twitch as much anymore. But anyways, in my spare time, yeah, more as a distraction, I really am going back to like gaming damn near like my PlayStation 3 days. I don't know if I mentioned it at any time. Obviously, I mentioned it on Twitch a lot. It's like I was in college for 5 years of this console generation, so I feel like I missed out on a ton of games. I didn't have time. If it wasn't like a brand name game like Uncharted, you know, I really wasn't playing it. I didn't have time to play little small things and venture out. So now that we have seemingly all the time in the world, yeah, when I'm on my spare time late at night, I've been playing a ton of games at a time. I'm replaying Uncharted 4 right now because I only got to play that once when it first came out, and I have a significantly superior TV than I had back then, so I feel like I'm really experiencing that game almost for the first time again. So playing that, in the process of trying the 100% Crash Bandicoot and Spyro remasters at the same time. Those games are so much damn fun, bro. Like sometimes, shout out to the Black Okage. If y'all listen to him, he always says this thing about video games that take themselves too seriously, and sometimes you just kind of want to sit back and have fun. And that's kind of how I feel with these remasters, because they're just light-hearted, colorful, really fun games, and they're from a different era too. They're from the PS1 era, where games were a lot different. Everything wasn't about having a huge storyboard and developing, you know, deep characters and things like that. They were just literally fun games that were extremely shallow, and sometimes you need that because you know, at times I'm in the mood for something like Uncharted with, you know, deep characters and a big crazy world and things like that. Sometimes I'm in the mood for that, and sometimes I just want to run around and collect some shit and, you know, get 100% on a level and try to 100% a game. Like, it's just that simple. And so those games are filling that need for me right now. Still playing Zelda Breath of the Wild, obviously. I'm not going to 100% that game because I'm not finding 900 Korok seeds. I probably have found like, I found a good amount, but I don't even really want to find 900. They're just fun to pick up along the way. But yes, I am doing all the shrines though. I'm doing all the shrines and a lot of the side quests. So I am having a lot of fun with Zelda. That's a game that I've been playing now since, when did I pick up Breath of the Wild? If today is April, I picked up Breath of the Wild. Damn, really? Has it been that short of time? It was really only since like February, maybe end of January, since I've been playing that game. But yeah, that's already an all-time favorite for me. That game is everything that people said it was. For the most part, I heard that it was an all-time game, and people were telling me like you have to play it, and it sat on my shelf. I bought it back in October, and I didn't touch it until around February. That just happens sometimes. But yeah, they were right. That is definitely on my all-time list. Very fun game to play. Again, colorful, kind of lighthearted, and almost easy to me, to be honest with you. Big, beautiful open world to explore and many things to do and many things to find. So it's really just fun to just, especially, that's the thing, right? It's a Nintendo Switch game, so it's not an investment. I guess I'll probably talk about that in a minute after talking about the different games, so I'll circle back around to that. On Xbox, the only thing I'm playing these days is Forza, because I was trying to find some help on that, because Forza, I feel like, is a game that you either, it's too easy to play or it's impossible to play. I haven't found that middle ground yet. So if you play Forza on expert, obviously you're not a goddamn expert, you'll suck. But then I feel like when I take it down to like that zone below that where I feel like I'm supposed to be, I never lose, and I never come close to losing. So very beautiful game though, very beautiful, very fun game. The Forza, especially on the HDR TVs, like that game, racing games, who can't enjoy racing games, right? Racing games are just very easy to enjoy, and Forza is a very beautiful one. So been playing that, and I'm going to get into Doom Eternal. I have not bought that yet because I feel like, you know, at least let me stick the CD in for all the games that I own so far first before I buy another one. That's my goal right now, right? If it's a game I haven't touched yet, it's like, fam, at least let me get into it first before I start another adventure. So, but yeah, by seeing TBH play Doom Eternal on Twitch, I absolutely will be hopping on that sooner or later. You could get that for any console, but I want to get it on Xbox because, like, I need to find some use for it before this console generation is over. That's really what I'm using the spare time for. We do expect, at this moment, we have, what, 7 more months with these consoles, and so yeah, I'm just trying to make up for lost time and playing a lot of these games. And it's weird because you have this PS4 and Xbox One X, but my favorite console may end up, at least the one I had the best time with, maybe not my favorite, that'd be a lie because I played way more PS4, but yeah, the console I had the most fun with this generation will probably be Nintendo Switch though, and it's because it's not an investment. I always, for some reason, people will come in and after I praise the Switch, they ask me if on like live stream, I'll praise the Switch and people ask if they should buy one. I'm like, yeah, I just praised it because you don't have to invest yourself in those games. So you just lay down anywhere. You grab Nintendo Switch right before you go to sleep and play a little bit. If you're in a car ride somewhere, like you can just get on it any time in any position. So that's been a big part of why I've enjoyed those games. And again, most of those games don't seem to take themselves that seriously. So like Super Mario Odyssey is easily one of my favorite games of all time. I'll be heading back to that too soon. I'm probably gonna try to go and maybe 100, maybe complete it. Any game like that that's just fun and lighthearted and easy to complete, I'll probably circle back around to. But yeah, that's how I ended up so far with like damn near 80 hours on Breath of the Wild, because again, just anywhere, anytime, halftime during a game, just just flick it on and play. Whereas consoles are obviously, you got to sit in front of a TV. You don't really have a choice, unless for PlayStation you're gonna be using your PS Vita connection, which I don't even know if that works for every game out there. So yeah, but that's what I'm doing with gaming these days, really just making up for lost time and trying to keep my mind off of everything else going on in the outside world as well. So that does a good job of passing time. Like you'll be up until 4 o'clock in the morning and not really even know it. Yeah, Spyro, I feel like I'm having way more fun with that game than I should, but god damn, that frame rate sucks, bro. Oh my goodness. If you hear this pod and you hadn't gotten on Spyro yet and you feel like you want to try it, you will have a ton of fun, but be prepared for a piss poor performance, bro. Piss poor. Game looks beautiful, but my goodness, the frame stutters so badly. And I was thinking about that earlier, how when I was a kid, I didn't actually know what frame stutters were, or what frame drops were. There was a game I used to play on PlayStation 1 where they tried to do way too much. It's called Driver 2. And apparently they tried to do way too much on that game for it to, fit on the PS1 hardware. And, when I was younger, I would play that game, and I remember driving through the city and the game would just like slow down for no reason. But I didn't, obviously PC gaming, I don't even know if that was really a thing back then, and I definitely wasn't playing on PC. I was like, second grade. I didn't know what was going on, but I just accepted it as a feature of the game. Like sometimes I'm going to be driving through the city and it's just going to like get slow out of nowhere. I didn't know what that meant at all. It meant nothing to me. I didn't have any words to put to it. And so now, like, of course, I play on PC, for Twitch, I play on PC, like, exclusively now, since I'm doing, like, mods and stuff like that. And so now when I go to console and the game stutters, it's like, holy shit. Another game that does that really bad is Grand Theft Auto 5. I get on Grand Theft Auto 5 online, like, strictly for the purpose of playing with my brother these days, because, he's grinding an account, so sometimes I get on and I help him with missions, and I'm like, bro, especially because I actually have a direct comparison there. I play GTA 5 on PC when I'm modding, so having a direct comparison of playing that versus playing GTA online on the TV, oh my god, that shit is like consistently far under 30 frames, bro. It's pretty bad, and that doesn't bode well for like the next generation of consoles, knowing that we're gonna some of the rumors that have dropped about the PS5 and devs supposedly saying that it's underpowered and shit like that. That's a story that I heard, which I don't actually, we don't actually know, but it's not hard to believe because the PS4 came out and it wasn't as powerful as we all expected. Then of course you had the midlife upgrade with the PS4 Pro, and I'm like, come on, bro, like, come on, is this what we're gonna do with the PS5? They're gonna drop that, or supposedly drop a Pro on the same day as that? And I don't know, man. More and more I'm finding myself getting into PC, and the consoles are just kind of like something that I grew up with, so I'm still here in front of my TV sometimes. But yeah, whenever I build myself a new PC, that might be like the official transition. That might be where I start playing all my stuff. But I'm never gonna, I don't know though, because I'm never gonna fully move on from having a big nice like widescreen to sit and play in front of, though. That's always going to be a part of me, so in some degree I'll always need consoles. So yeah, that's basically what's going on with games for me right now. As far as anime, this is actually an interesting thing. I found it hard to talk about anime before. Like when I used to talk about Dragon Ball, I didn't really watch enough every week to always come back and give an update. I did finish Dragon Ball, fucking amazing series, beautiful series. Goku and Piccolo, legitimately one of the better fights that I've seen in that entire show. So I finally got finished with that, and now what I ended up doing was watching Dragon Ball Kai. Watching Dragon Ball Kai with DBZ music. So yes, we found a way to Frankenstein this. Apparently there's a lot of fan edits out there where you download a program, and it's really easy. Like, it sounds complicated, but I promise you find the app, you allegedly find the episodes, alright? However you have the episodes is not up to me. But if you have Dragon Ball Kai episodes, there are a lot of fan edits where people have like music files that you can merge with the show. I forgot what the actual process is called, But anyways, you have the program, you drag the episode file in, you drag the audio file in, and now you have the result is a Kai episode with DBZ music. And let's talk about Kai for a second, because I am where am I? 11 episodes? I don't know. It's been a couple of days. I'm about 12 or 13 episodes in, all right? I'm about 12 or 13 episodes into Kai, and fucking Vegeta is already a grade 8, bro. He's already a great ape. As far as I know, Kai is like 170 something episodes, and it goes all the way to the Buu saga. And I'm not gonna lie, when I was watching the first few episodes, I had to adjust because it moves at an insane pace. So just know that if you were following my watch through and you said to yourself you were going to do a watch through, prepare yourself, because if you grew up with the original DBZ, Kai is so fast, bro. If you've ever seen DBZ Kai abridged from Team 4-Star, they do parody that, and they make fun of how fast Kai moves, because it does move so insanely quickly. But I guess it just depends on what you need. So here's the thing, like, I'm always gonna love DBZ. I grew up with it. It's always gonna be a part of me. But fam, right now, like, I'm also watching other animes too. Like, I'm watching Code Geass. I want to get on to like Attack on Titan and things like that. I want to see other anime. If I commit right now to 291 Dragon Ball Z original episodes, that's way too damn much. That's just too much for Dragon Ball Z. That's too much, because I know what it is. I know how that series is paced, and because of that, I'm not gonna enjoy it. I'm not gonna enjoy the massive amounts of filler. I'm not gonna enjoy the fights where there's a flashback and there's only like 7 minutes, maybe not even 7 minutes. There's only a little bit of fighting in the episode, and the rest of it is just them staring at each other and having flashbacks and shit. Like, fam, I'm just not with it. I'm not with it. And so watching Kai, I did get worried. I'm like, man, am I robbing myself of the actual experience of DBZ, because you just get by things so quickly. But I think that between the fight, it's more of a modern showing. That's literally what Kai seems like to me. And I do want to make a distinction here. I would not be tolerating Kai. I repeat, I would not tolerate Kai without the DBZ music. I wouldn't be able to do it. That's just, you're giving up too much. Then you're giving up certain pacing that you're used to, and then you're giving up music. So I had to compromise. I found a middle ground. But during the fights, I think the fights are paced appropriately, though. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything when I see the fights. It's just what's in between. You do worry that maybe you're missing something there. Anyways, regardless, like I said, it makes DBZ feel like more like a modern anime, because in modern shows that you watch and in ones that came out years ago, it feels like something important happens every episode. For the most part, you feel like you're watching something every episode to see something unfold, and that's what you don't get in the original DBZ. There's not always something unfolding. Sometimes it's just like, bro, get on with it. And so that's kind of what Kai is fixing. That's what Kai has fixed for me anyways. And I feel like what I'm gonna do is, after I get done with Kai, like I said, I'm gonna do Super, then I'm gonna do GT. Maybe at the very end, in the background, I'll be watching DBZ the original, the boxes that I own. I'll watch the original just to kind of compare it. But other than that, it's like, yeah, fam, I gotta get on to these other shows. And 291 episodes of DBZ. Wait, did I miscount? Yeah, it's 291, right? Right? Is it 291? Hey, yo, don't quote me on the exact amount of episodes the original DBZ is. I'm just trying to go off the dome here. Either way, it's a massive amount for what it actually is. And yeah, for just trying to get a modern viewing and trying to get on the other shows, absolutely. Kai with DBZ music, with the original DBZ music, is what I'm going for right now. So that's where I'm at with anime, and I am also at an hour exactly on this podcast. So I am going to go ahead and wrap things up. Should be back next weekend. This one, I did not have one last week. Things are just confusing. Time is slipping away these days. Yeah, things are moving extremely fast. I can't even remember. Me and my brother sometimes, like, we'll recall something from like the last few days, and I'll be like, wait, that wasn't yesterday. That's how days are blending together right now. So yeah, whatever. To you and yours, stay safe. Keep staying safe out here. We are going to get through this. Make sure that if you find this easier to just listen to somewhere, Spotify and iTunes links are in the comment section and description. And please hit the like button, comment, and sub if you enjoyed.